There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Cameron Chronicles. Max here, along with Alex Jackson, our features editor and fellow men's basketball beat. Alex, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks for joining again. So we're recording this on Sunday, just 2 days out from Duke's matchup with Kentucky in the Champions Classic. The Blue Devils are actually just 1-point favorites according to OddsShark. So it figures to be an entertaining matchup to say the least. So first things first, Alex, what stands out to you about this Kentucky team under John Calipari?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking about is last season. And I know I'm saying this after Duke did not have a great last season in this tournament, but Kentucky had an even worse season. I think they went 9-16, and people are now spouting out Calipari's washed and all this stuff. But I think that's all nonsense. I think Kentucky's going to return to what they keep doing, which is being a great basketball program. They brought in 3 top 40 recruits, 4 D1 transfers. So a lot to like there, but their new roster, and I'm excited to see what Calipari can do. But for this specific game, I'm looking at the size comparison. I think they're rolling with Oscar Tshiebwe at their quote unquote center position, but he's only 6'9". He's probably the biggest guy in their roster. And, Duke's coming in with a ton of size this year, especially this game. They got 7-foot Mark Williams, Theo John, Paolo. They're all huge guys who can do damage in the paint. So I think rebounding is going to be a big thing for Duke to focus on. I mean, they'll be getting a ton of second chance points, and Kentucky will be struggling with that size. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think Tshiebwe is an interesting guy because he's really their only kind of true back to the basket guy. It's weird because Calipari teams usually love to throw it inside, and they usually play with even 2 big guys who can work in the post. Thinking like Karl-Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein. I know we're like 6 years out from that, but I just kind of view that as like the model for Kentucky teams in the last decade. But yeah, they're an interesting team. I think they're a consensus top 3 team at worst in the SEC. I know Alabama, Tennessee, and Arkansas are up there, but I think this Kentucky team has a lot of talent. I like Ty Washington a lot. He seems like a really good combo guard. He doesn't really fit in any sort of mold. I think he can play off the ball. He can handle a little bit. So I like him a lot. And then Keon Brooks, he's kind of like their stretch 4 type guy. He plays well off Tshiebwe. He's kind of a guy that they haven't really had for a couple of years. They don't really have a guy who can step out to the 3-point line from the 4 spot. So yeah, they're probably going to do a lot of pick and pop type stuff with him and Washington, or Severe Wheeler, who's actually been handling the ball a lot. He's a transfer from Georgia, who actually believe he led the SEC in assists last year, and they kind of just brought him in. He was like a 14-7 guy, and he just basically plug and play. So I was watching a little bit of their exhibition highlights, and he's not the biggest guy. He's probably hovering around 6 feet, but he's kind of a pest. A lot was what Calipari described him as. I think he was getting involved on defense, getting his hands active, forcing a lot of steals, creating fast break opportunities. So it's an interesting team. I think they will definitely bounce back. Last year was a complete aberration. This is a great program. Calipari is, with Coach K, probably, and John Shire, the best recruiter in the country. And he's, I don't even think he gets enough credit maybe for his X's and O's. People just think of him as a recruiter, but I do think he is a great X's and O's coach. I mean, he kind of pioneered the whole dribble drive offense. I know people were like, well, it's just playing basketball. But yeah, I mean, but you still have to fill your lanes and fill your gaps. And Kentucky always does a good job of that. And they always play very, very similarly every year. And this year they're adding shooting. So which I think will be really interesting because they've never been a team that has been filled with shooters. So yeah, I think it's an interesting team. I think they'll give Duke a run for their money. I don't think it'll be any sort of blowout. I think it'll be a close game down to the end. So who's one player, if you had to pick one guy who could surprise you from Kentucky?
Well, see, I'm returning back to my size point. I'm saying that I think that Kentucky's going to struggle a lot dealing with Duke's size. And so they're going to look for they're looking rotating guys in, trying out different things when they're inevitably going to struggle. So I think Damian Collins, who's had an outstanding year in high school last year, and he comes in as the, I think, number 13 recruit, according to 24/7 Sports. So I think he could be really interesting off the bench to be like a different look for Kentucky on the inside. Not only is he a scrappy guy, but he also can just provide that raw size and strength. And I think Duke could be really getting put up against the wall with a guy like him on the court.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that, if he might not be a consistent part of the rotation, maybe late in games for Kentucky now, but I think by the end of the season, Kentucky always kind of puts it together late in the year, except for last year. But he's a guy that could be a huge factor in them maybe making a run to the Elite Eight or even to the Final Four. And it's crazy to say this, but the last time either of these programs were actually in the Final Four was the same year, was 2015. That undefeated Kentucky team that lost to Wisconsin, and obviously the Duke team that beat Wisconsin. So it's been a while. But I know it's relative, and 6 years is not that long to not make the Final Four for every program not named Duke, Kentucky, Carolina, and Kansas at this point. But it's still notable that was the last one, and they were that's both their last appearances in the Final Four. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be really a fun game, and it's hard it makes sense that's the nightcap. It's the 9:30 game because Kansas Michigan State is the game before, and I don't think that game probably won't be as competitive. Michigan State's they're not going to be as good as they have been in years past. They lost a lot from last year, and Kansas is obviously a top 5 team, so it makes sense that the Duke Kentucky game is the nightcap, is the primetime game, with obviously being Coach K's last year. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting started to wrap this up, but if we're looking at a score pick, what would you say, Alex, for the final?
I think I'm gonna trend towards the higher scoring side. I think Duke ends up with somewhere around 70 or 80 points, and I'm actually gonna pick them to come out on top. I think I'll go with about 84 to 72. I think Duke spreads it out towards the end of the game, and I think both teams are still going to be figuring out their defense, but both teams are tremendous scoring. So it's going to be, I think that they're going to get up there with score, and yeah, I think Duke pulls it out in the end. So how you feeling?
Well, before I go, what's one key to a Duke victory? If they win by 12 like you predict, what's going to be the main reason for that?
I know all eyes are going to be on Paolo Banchero, but I really think Trevor Keels is the key. I mean, Duke always looks for a shooter, always a guy that can kick the ball out to, and I think Keels is really going to, if he's hitting threes, Duke is going to be succeeding for sure. So, I mean, I know he's young. This is a big stage to take your first steps on the court too, but I really think that if he's working, Duke's working.
Yeah, I can't wait for the matchup between, I don't know how, I'm assuming it'll be Keels and Washington guarding each other, just because of the height differential between Keels and Wheeler and Roach and Washington. I feel like Roach and Wheeler are better suited to guard each other. But obviously it could change throughout the game. But I am excited for that. I think Keels is a guy that can slot right in. I think he's got the frame and the shooting ability to be a guy that Duke can rely on for points just from the get-go. I don't think he needs a lot of time to get his feet wet. I think he's gonna be ready to go, and he's not one to shy away from taking a shot. He's always going to be aggressive. So I think it'll be a little closer than that. I will go Duke 81, Kentucky 75. I think Duke does win the game, but I think that Kentucky makes it close for a bit because it's a better shooting team that Kentucky has had in a while. Actually, they have Wheeler, they have Washington who can shoot it, Brooks can knock it down, Davion Mintz, who's a returner. It's crazy to say that Kentucky has a couple guys returning from last year's team because that never really happens there. They always have guys just leaving after a year, similar to Duke, but they do have some guys coming back like Duke as well. But I think it's going to be close. I think Duke gets it done in the end because I think Banchero makes a couple plays late. I think he's going to have. He won't be. He won't hit. He won't have like the R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson performance that they had against Kentucky 3 years ago, but I think he'll have a 20 and 10 night. I think he's a really tough cover for guys that Kentucky can throw at him. I mean, they can throw Collins at him, they can throw Brooks at him, maybe, but those guys just don't have the frame really to guard him. So I'm gonna go Duke by 6. And I'm pretty relatively confident in that pick, but I think yours would not surprise me. 12-6. I mean, that margin isn't. But at the end of the game, with free throws, that margin is a little small between those two results. So we're gonna wrap this now, but before we go, obviously we cover Duke, we cover the Blue Devils specifically, but we obviously always have an eye on the rest of the country, rest of the ACC, rest of college basketball, and we actually I think both have Final Four picks that we wanna go. So Alex, you want to take a shot at that?
So this is tough because you're so far out. There's no way to tell, but I think I gotta go with Duke. I really like their team this year. I think they're actually coming in a little bit underrated. I had the privilege to see their exhibition game in person, and it just pretty much showed me all I needed to see about getting excited for this year's team. So I'll ride with them. I gotta throw Gonzaga in there. And I mean they're talented as ever, and they're always stacked, and especially coming off last year. So I think I'll also ride with Kansas because I mean you talked about them before, but man, like they're just tough to go up against no matter who you're playing. So and then fourth team, I can't pick a fourth team because there's always some low seed that comes in and steals a spot. So I'm not gonna put another team in the fire without I know that there's gonna be some low seed 6, 7, 8, something like that comes in. So I don't know. Do you have any? Do you have a better picture of your Final Four?
I think I might just go on record and say it. You can pull up this clip in whatever 5-6 months and say I'm a complete idiot, and I probably am, as I usually am when it comes to my predictions, but I think I'm picking Villanova to win it all. I think I just like this team that they got this year. I mean Jay Wright's an incredible coach, and I know all the Duke fans who are going to be listening to this and say, how could you not pick Duke? How could you not pick Coach K? I want to be a realist. I think Duke has a really good chance to get to the Final Four. I can't pick them because that would be the most homer pick maybe of all time. I just can't pick them. And I think I do like Villanova. I think they got a great team with Gillespie and Justin Moore. So I do think they have a really good team. I kind of like Michigan as well. I like Juwan Howard. Hunter Dickinson's a beast inside. I always respect the lefties. And I think
forgot about Michigan. Michigan's a good pick.
Yeah, I just like I honestly thought they should have beat UCLA in that Elite Eight game last year. That was tough, but I feel like they kind of gave that game away. Sorry to my sister who's a UCLA freshman now, but sorry sis. I still don't know how you guys made the Final Four last year, but I actually think UCLA could be one of might be my third team. I just think they're more mature than last year, and last year they made the Final Four. So if I go Villanova, Michigan, UCLA, and I obviously want to put another team in there that besides Duke that I think could make it. I mean, I like a team like Texas. I like Oregon, could surprise some people. They could be like a 4 seed that comes out of nowhere. They always kind of go deep, and they always have some good like wing perimeter guys. Maybe a team like Memphis, if they put it all together. I don't know. They have Monty Bates and Jalen Duran. Those two guys literally just committed. But the thing is, they both reclassified, so they're both like really young, and I have no idea how it's going to work. And Penny has obviously never coached in an NCAA tournament, so maybe he's expected to go to the Final Four this year, and it's still pretty early in his tenure. So those are some teams that I think if they put it together, they definitely can make a run. I doubt Memphis will actually do it, but I think if at their ceiling, I think they could be like an Elite Eight team with a shot to go to the Final Four. So yeah, we'll wrap it at that. Obviously, if you guys haven't checked out our coverage at DukeChronicle.com, we got all of our preseason features, preseason predictions, a game by game breakdown of Duke's schedule. All of our new writers did a great job with those capsules. And obviously, check out all of our beat writers' predictions for the season, their features. We got stuff on Joey Baker. Alex did a great counterpoint on the pressure that Duke is facing this year. I believe that was your point, actually, on the pressure that Duke's facing this year. And we got other content coming out over the next couple of days just to prepare for Kentucky. So we'll be live from Madison Square Garden Tuesday night, ready to kick off the season. So Alex, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And just for all those listeners, I won't be live from Madison Square Garden, but your boy Max will be, and our lovely editor Jake will be there too.
Yes, we will be. We're excited. So, Alex, you'll get.
I'll be watching from home.
Yeah, you'll be live from later road games of the season. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.